Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Magel. I lead agency development for Samba TV, and I could not be more excited after 27 years of working inside of media agencies to be sitting on the stage with this group talking about this topic at this moment. It's just an amazing moment for our industry, and I really think the industry is going to take a step forward to truly evolve cross-media measurement. It is time to move beyond the GRP. There are a million reasons for it, not the least of which, okay, you can clap if you want, not the least of which it's a metrics it's really a multiplication formula, it's not a metric. There's two metrics inside of it that are very important, but the GRP is not something I think that marketers should be using to evaluate their results going forward. And I don't think anybody on this panel thinks that either. A couple of other reasons why we need to do that. The increasing addressability of media is just in the enormous amount of data points that are available to marketers and publishers and agencies today really does mean that media is more measurable than it ever has been before at a very granular level. And the most basic reason is that TV and video viewing is going to be a multi-screen experience today and going forward for good, and that requires holistic measurement. So, what do we measure? How should we be measuring it? How often should we be measuring it? And who should be doing the measuring? You're looking at 4 of the leaders in our industry who are pushing their own companies and pushing our industry to truly answer those questions and evolve cross-media measurement to meet the needs of today's modern marketing and media ecosystem. So, please let me quickly introduce our panelists. Sean Cunningham, CEO of the Video Advertising Bureau. Quick. Lisa Valentino, EVP of Client Solutions and Addressable Enablement at Disney Advertising Sales. Forgive me, Kelly Abakarian, who heads up Measurement and Impact at NBC Universal. And Kate Sirkin, who is the EVP of Data Partnerships at Publicis. All right. So we got to get started quickly. I'm just going to have one question for all of you. Let's answer quickly. If you can each give me 30 seconds or less on how you define optimal measurement, an optimally evolved measurement for today's industry. So just give us a sentence or a defining characteristic. Go, Sean.
Optimally defined. It would be the client, the marketer, the advertiser's actual target, the one they use inside of their building, would be the one that we would begin, do the middle, and do the end of the process with. We would be able to talk about specifically European auto intenders and be able to metric that all the way through the process.
No mas. We're going to Lisa.
Good.
I can't do it in 30 seconds, but I'll try. Inclusive reach. I would say inclusive reach from a Disney perspective. I think for us, we have such a significant footprint in streaming with Hulu. We now have 110 million viewers every month on our streaming platform. So anything that isn't conclusive or inclusive of that universe, is a real problem.
So holistic measurement. Perfect. Go, Kelly.
One word, independence.
Oh, I love that word.
We need to break free from the legacy mindset and be open to all opportunities in which to move measurement forward, and to realize that there's a lot of innovation going on to help us to get there.
Excellent. Kate?
And I'm going to build on what all 3 people said, and it would be driven by an open, transparent, and privacy-compliant data marketplace.
Independence and transparency. Excellent, excellent, guys. Thanks for keeping the time. Okay, individual questions. Kelly, so you have been a vocal leader in our industry, and NBCU has been reputed in many, many press releases to actually be going through measurement independence is a theme. You've been going through an RFP process, which I think is way more than 50 organizations. How is that going? Give us a little bit of insight into what you're seeing, what kind of companies you're evaluating, and something that will teach these guys what's going on in this space.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We've been very busy, as you can imagine, evaluating 80+ partners across the ecosystem, across 6 measurement categories. I think a lot of people think this is all about audience delivery or currency. It goes beyond that, because we need to move to a value-based measurement system so that we can actually help advertisers understand their investment more acutely than what we do today. We spend way too much money at the top of the funnel, just counting up eyeballs, and then doing that against a surrogate proxy like age and gender. And so what I'm seeing, and I think the key takeaway, is that there are 80+ companies doing amazing innovation. There's never been a more exciting time to be in measurement, and that we collectively as an industry need to embrace that opportunity and collectively explore all options and be open to a more open marketplace as we move ahead.
Do you think there's like, is it going to end up with 1 or 2 companies, or is it going to be 10? Like, what are you thinking?
There's going to be multiple yardsticks as we move ahead, because no one can see it all, value it all, and measure it all. And what we're seeing across these 80 is there's enrichment providers that are willing to collaborate with other measurement partners. And I think it's truly exciting around what we can do collectively when we collaborate and really work to bring data and be truly consumer obsessed to move the next evolution of measurement forward.
One quick example of what, you don't have to name the partners, what does enrichment mean? Like, what kind of partners would work together?
Well, one we called out recently was TrueSet. They're a enrichment partner that is actually looking at all the identity signals and really helping to bring an understanding of the accuracy across the census level data sets that we should all be embracing to use in which to understand how to reach the advertiser's desired audience.
Okay. And is your goal a set of NBC certified solutions, or is it industry solutions?
Our goal is to work across the industry and to collaborate and to really bring forward a set of certified measurement partners that the industry as a whole can collectively collaborate on and which to lean forward and move measurement forward.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Kate, so from the agency holdco perspective, you are working very closely with all of the marketers that we all serve in some way or another. Where would they like to see this go? What are they saying to you? And conversely, what would you like them to consider that, I don't know, maybe they are, maybe they aren't considering?
So I think from the broadest perspective, what they're looking for us to do are 3 things. Get data that drives planning, so how people split their budgets right at the beginning of the process, and insights around that. They're looking for us to buy the media against some of that data effectively, and then measure. And so all those 3 things need to be included in whatever the final solution is. But I don't think they're looking for one provider to provide all of that. Our role is or my role now in the holding company is to make sure that we've got access to all of the data sets. We understand the strengths and weaknesses of those data sets, and we bring them together ourselves. You think about the investment that the holdcos have made in data partners and identity over the last couple of years, it's huge. And so we want to buy or license data, build tools ourselves that meet advertisers' needs. If we think about the currencies that we need, we've probably got 3 different types of campaigns. We've got reach building campaigns for awareness at the top of the funnel. Mm-hmm. We've got consideration campaigns in the middle of the funnel, and then we've got performance campaigns at the bottom. And we need to just be able to measure and report against those metrics.
Yeah, and arguably with
really complicated.
Yep. If we're talking at the individual level and it's identity driven, you can probably bring together awareness and consideration and conversion campaigns all as one, at least be evaluating them together.
You can, and the different partners that you would choose to maybe create some of those solutions would be across all of those different platforms.
Okay. Anything else they're pushing you for, or what is the biggest thing you want to fix going forward in this process?
Transparency.
Transparency.
Yeah, I spend
Tell
a lot
us
of
what
time,
that means exactly.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time listening to MRC calls, and I'm sure many people do in this room. And the biggest piece I get from that is not whether a metric or a provider is accredited, but it's the transparency that goes into how they build the product. And then I can do with the data whatever I feel is appropriate, but I understand where the strengths and weaknesses are, how the data's been compiled, and then how I can bring it together.
So does that mean you want transparency from the data providers you're bringing together, or you're looking for industry transparency across all of it?
I mean, I guess it's a combination of both in the end. The MRC does a good job of facilitating that today. I don't want to see the sales decks. I want to understand nothing's perfect. I mean, it's really not. So,
you're after my own heart. You're in the weeds. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. Lisa.
Yes.
A month ago, about VideoAmp made a pretty big announcement that they're going to be running some alternative currency tests in the industry with a number of agency holdcos and a number of publishers. Disney was specifically noted as not participating in that. Could you give us a little bit of insight into the decision there? What drove it?
Sure.
What are your motivations?
Yeah, I mean, look, first I love what Kelly said about measurement independence. We started measurement independence 5 years ago at Disney. And a lot of the vendors that Kelly and NBC are evaluating now are built into the graph that we do a lot of work with clients on. So it's great to see other big media companies adopting those kind of practices. Two, optionality is really important. We are working with Video Amp. However, what's really important that these partners get, there's a couple of criteria that are important to us. One is transparency, right? The other piece is having a full view of the video ecosystem. And as I said earlier, you know, with such a big footprint in streaming, that's probably more important to us than any other partner out there. Probably us and Google, where the scale is at that level of significant reach and attention from consumers. So we are currently working with Video Amp to build out their CTV footprint to make sure that it accurately reflects the audiences that clients want to use tools like Video Amp for, right? Which is about building reach and frequency. And so having that holistic view, if you don't have it, then the data coming out of it isn't going to be accurate. So we absolutely are invested in that, but it's also not just about Video Amp. I mean, we are in business with Samba and many others. What we love about a company like Samba is the cross-platform reach and frequency that clients can garner. And the holistic view that you have, and the fact that your audience graph, which is a differentiator, is not based on pixels, which we've kind of moved past. You know, we built an audience graph 5 years ago, which who knew, crystal ball 5 years ago, what would be going on with regulations and privacy and cookies. And so we sit in a really important position, like Kate and Kelly are really trying to direct. Here are best-in-class tools, depending on where you're coming in at the funnel, that you can take advantage of. And you know, another thing I would just want to mention is where we're matching data and where we're activating is also really important, because all of our companies care about privacy, right? Built with integrity is a must-have. So, you know, that shuts the door on some vendors, by the way. And we have to hold a really high standard. Tomorrow, we're announcing, I saw Snowflake has a pretty big activation here. We're announcing a big clean room solution and a big pilot with them. And we do think that the future of clean rooms, where we bring our data to the table, other vendors bring their data, clients bring their data, and we can do really interesting reach and frequency measurement, activation, pre-planning insights, in a place where privacy is protected and everybody's data is protected. So, you know, there's a couple of layers to this. What I love about the press is, you know, Disney isn't in the first paragraph. Oh, what, you know, why? Why not? The reality is we're in business with many of these companies, but we also like to talk about things we're doing versus, you know, what our future state is. So.
I'm just curious, have you seen, as you've been, it sounds like you've been doing it for a while, so are there clients, you don't have to name the clients, but is there an example of a client that you feel has benefited from a new world measurement capability that you've brought to the table, sort of like you just described?
We have hundreds of clients activating on our first-party data graph. It's called Disney Select. There's 1,000 segments to choose from.
Right.
It is enriched with third-party data. So it's not just Disney data, but it's also enriched. So I would say yes. We also have attribution tools. Hulu, one of the benefits of that acquisition was their attribution tool, which fuels a lot of D2C marketing. And so we have a lot of examples. The work that we're doing with clean rooms like Snowflake around measurement, we've got major holding companies involved in that, major D2C brands involved in that. And the ambition with that is not just to fuel next year's upfront and be able to count. Like, you know, there's so many, there's two ends of the spectrum. As an industry, we want to just be able to count people, right? Unduplicated reach and frequency. And on the other end, we want to do sophisticated measurement. And I think we've got lots of examples of clients, entering at various points. So we're encouraged by that. We also have to hold our traditional brethren in the measurement field to more accountability, right?
Yep. Agreed.
And I think we all probably
So I'm going
share that.
to stop you. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Sean, we got to get to you. Your organization, quite possibly has been the most vocal for the last year in this particular area.
Yes.
And your team was instrumental in identifying some of the issues that may exist in the current ecosystem. Resulted in MRC accreditation issues. I'm curious, I'm sure you're observing Nielsen's progress as they're moving towards a new product. I'm sure you're observing what else is going on in the measurement industry. What is the VAB's role, in your opinion, in this measurement ecosystem, in this process the industry is going through?
I think our role is to build an arena where we have the ability to get to the most competitive state, as Kelly talked about, like the 6 places along that continuum of which you want to measure impact, everything from awareness up to things that are transactional, things that are influential. And to me, one of the biggest things that we need to do, and you'd mentioned Nielsen and the coming of Nielsen 1, the primary observation is that it's an ironic name because clearly 1 isn't enough. We need more than one currency solution. That I think is the Band-Aid that was forever ripped off. And to me, it's not only about spurring competition, but Kate mentioned transparency as well and how important that is. And to me, what I feel is going on in the business and what I'd like to think we had a good role in is kind of helping what now is the lead currency provider, whether they realize we're trying to help or not, pull back this big black curtain, and get to a place where we now need to see, because competitors are going to come in every direction, just how good are you at the various types of data, just how good are you at the metrics that we need to see, because the fact is, the way we're looking at this is we not only need the ability to get all that deduplicated reach, to understand it across all those platforms, right? To be able to understand.
Yeah, it seems like that's the benchmark,
That's
and
the
a lot more needs to happen and be measured above and beyond. Yeah?
But to me, you have to pretty quickly get to how do you identify where your high-value customers are? How do you string back the actions? What were the last 4 touches before an activation kind of thing? And to me, the most important set of data that we can be building, in a lot of ways, is that idea of an impression is not an impression, but it needs to be metric, meaning we need to understand how do we factor in context, content, right? Quality, duration. And those things are measurable, and the impacts are measurable.
Dentsu made a great announcement today about they're building an attention metric, which I think is very admirable.
And this is all happening in real time, and it needs to happen at warp speed. But what we're trying to do is facilitate arenas where you can have innovation through competition. And I think that's the only way we're going to move forward. Our currency is being essentially torn down inside of a 2-year continuum. C3, C7 will go away in 2024, which in many ways is a wonderful thing. But it's got to be replaced by something that's not a flat piece of paper. It's got to be a Rubik cube. It's got to be accountable, and it's got to tie back to things that are really actionable.
So you feel you, as an organization, can foster a conversation? Like, can you bring parties together and move the process forward?
I think one of the things we can do is help create, some of the industry standards around the things that I talked about, around context, around content, that type of thing. The importance, to us of spurring innovation and putting down the principles about transparency inside of this competition.
Yeah.
That's the critical piece. We in a lot of ways, there may be people who are sitting there going, well, you're you're an anti-Nielsen, agent. We're not. We're a pro-competition agent that's desperately trying to pull back, again, that big black curtain and say,
to drive innovation.
yeah, this is what we need.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. All right, so we're down to a few minutes, and I think what I'd love to close this with is sort of I'm grouping together a couple of questions that I had planned to ask you all. So just if we could go down the line, we'll start with Kate, right? Give us a quick sense. I'd love to know, what does a multi-measurement provider ecosystem look like? Does the client choose? Does the agency choose, or the client and agency together? Does the publisher offer their set of measurement options and then you choose from that, or do you want to choose top level and have that widely available? That's a quick question. Second question is on currency. The industry does need a currency, so I would love your thought on what you think that maybe should evolve to from what was the age, gender, CPM, and GRP. Go ahead, Kate.
Okay, you're asking me for an answer that's shorter than the question, but I'll do my best. On the first one, in terms of who creates it, I'll go back to my original statements. I think we need an open data marketplace. I think if we have the data owners, the data integrators, and the data users, we'll end up with the right place. I think in terms of the actual currency, I still think we need 3 levels. It needs to be focused on business outcomes, but those business outcomes are, again, on 3. Their reach for the top of the funnel and awareness, their consideration for the middle of the funnel, and their business performance for the bottom. And if you start with open, transparent, privacy-compliant data, you can do all of those things.
Awesome. Kelly, same questions.
All right. I believe that there will be multiple yardsticks, and the reason for that is that we're spending so much investment on counting up eyeballs, and to Lisa's point, there's no one single provider without the publishers leaning in to be able to do it well and do it right. We're coming upon first-party data across collectively the publisher ecosystem that can accurately and adequately help our advertisers find those audiences more uniquely than some measurement proxy that is kind of half covering, half missing, half not there. And so, I think it's important that we lean in, like I said, to the innovators that are willing to be in a more interoperable state to build upon what Kate said, because that is where the future is heading. It's not about, one currency to rule them all. It's really, to answer your second question, it's about what a buyer and seller wants to agree to transact on, and those metrics go across the funnel.
And it can be multiple metrics.
It's multiple measures, but it's also doesn't need to be a single provider that provides those measurement. I mean, if you look at the walled gardens, they've got 20 to 30 measurement partners across the entire funnel, starting at the top all the way to the bottom. So why in television currency are we believing that it needs to be a single monolithic currency that is going to continue to become outdated from the framework of where consumers are heading?
Very good point. So we got 30 seconds for each of you. Lisa, what do you say?
Think about this. Within the next 5 years, the majority of our supply will be connected, okay? And that provides an opportunity to deliver impression-based opportunities decorated with data, leveraging the variety of measurement yardsticks that you want to use. That's the future we should all be racing towards.
Awesome. Sean, last word.
As an advertiser marketer, you have to demand the ability for customization. You can't tell me that someone who's marketing Rockstar energy drink and someone who's marketing, Mercedes S-Class cars is, that it's a one-size solution, or it's a one currency solution, or it's, X number of providers and you've got a choice of 2 per category. The categories are different. The interoperability is going to be different. The data demands are different. The purchase cycle is different. There has to be a menu for them to pick for, and there has to be a way to have the capability of interoperability and ultimately metric those outcomes to each marketer's needs.
Okay, thank you all very, very much. One thing I wanted to do is just, everybody reach down under your chairs. There's a little token of our appreciation for you all joining this conversation. Each of you, you guys, sorry,
really?
Panelists.
Lovely party.
See what you got in there.
Oh, look at how...
You are all each the proud owner of a Craftsman professional grade tape measure to assist in your measurement innovation over the next 3 months. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot.